how to highlight duplicates in Google Sheets using 2 different conditions or more, 3, 4, 5, and on and on. I'm going to use here a sales report, and you can use your own data set. This tutorial is going to work, so you don't need to have the same data set that I'm using here. You can use your own data. I'm going to use as my first condition the order ID and then the product name. Let's say I don't want to have repetitive values in the order ID, but of course I have a couple of values and I need to automate this task to always that I have some repetitive values to highlight them with a different color. So those 3 numbers that I selected here are being repeated, and it could be a problem. This is my first criteria. I need to check the second criteria to see actually if it is or not a problem. And my second criteria is the product. And okay, it's not a problem because those products are different from each other, so it's not a problem at all. Okay, so those 3 order IDs are okay. But if I take a look here on those 2 first numbers that I have, it's being repeated again. It could be a problem, as I said, but I need to check first my first criteria and then the second one. My second criteria right here, the products, now is a problem because they are equal to each other. So because both the order ID and also the product are equal to each other, yes, I need to highlight them. And of course, I can highlight just one single cell or highlight both columns and whatever. But here, I'm going to highlight the order ID. Okay, so those 2 is going to be highlighted. Those 3 right here is not going to be highlighted because for the reasons that we saw before, and on and on. And in order to highlight automatically whenever we have these repetitive values following the criteria that you need to use, we're going to need to have here a helper column, like this one that I already create here. But let me read it off, this column, delete column, and we're going to create step by step. I can use the column F, the column G, all the columns that is to the right, to the left, a blank column. And you don't need to always show this column to everyone. So let's say you can go here to the end of the spreadsheet and you can create here a helper column. And when you're done, you can right click and then write column, because that way no one's gonna see what you did, okay? But anyway, I'm gonna use here the column F as my helper column. And in this helper column, HC helper column, in a shorter way, basically I'm gonna combine together both criteria that I'm gonna use. If you have 3, 4, 10 different criteria, you're gonna combine them together in following the same steps that I'm gonna show you here. Why can I use the way the columns are displayed here? Because if I highlight the values that are being repeated, I'm just gonna highlight everything, basically. Those 2 here, those 3 right here, those 3 right here, and on and on. But as we saw before, it's not the case. So we need to use 2 conditions. And in order to use more than one condition, we're gonna need to combine those columns, those criteria. Equal sign, the first thing that I'm gonna do, equal sign, and then I'm gonna select here the first value, my first criteria. And then ampersand, the ampersand is going to allow me to append one more condition. And then I select the second one, like this. You can continue to put here input conditions, just using the ampersand, and then select the third one, ampersand, the fourth one, and on and on and on. Enter, okay, I'm done here. Let me just click hold in the down right corner of the cell and bring it down to make sure now all the rows contain the same function. And with the helper column, we're done. Now we can see in just one place, in one single cell, which one of the order IDs we need to highlight. So those one here, I need to highlight, and those 3 right here, I don't need to highlight them because they are different. Look, the number are equal to each other, but here in the ending, they are not equal. So, okay, we solved the problem. Now I'm going to select the column that I want to use to highlight. I'm going to use the column B like this. Okay. Now I'm going to click here, Format, conditional formatting, and to the right, I'm gonna have a couple of different settings that I can change in order to highlight a cell. I can change the color and whatever, but I'm gonna stick with the formula that we're gonna need to use here. Formula rules, I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna select custom formula. And as my custom formula, I'm gonna use equal sign CountIF function, because the CountIF function can count the repetitive values whenever they appear. So open parentheses, and the range that I'm gonna use to count all the repetitive values is gonna be our helper column. And as we saw, the helper column here is in the column F, but I'm gonna need to select the entire column F, and to do it, F to F, F column F, F column F, comma, and now as I use the column F, I need to input here F1. If you use it, the column B, C, D, you name it, you're gonna use B1 or A1 or C1, okay? It needs to match with the range that you selected. Close parentheses, and doesn't work because I'm gonna explain how this function works in a practical way. I'm gonna show you later. Close parentheses, and then I need to verify if this result is greater than 1. If so, I need to highlight those cells, and it's already working. So if you take a look here, all the cells that has, let's say, the order ID and also the product are the same, are being highlighted for me. Take a look on those orders here. They are equal to each other, but because the products are different, they are not being highlighted. And yeah, it's perfectly working. So let me click here. Or even, I'm gonna let this panel here open. Let's pay attention here in the formula that I'm gonna use, okay? I'm gonna explain this formula now. So if you take a look here in the helper column, it's the column that we are using as the criteria. And how the CountIF function works. It's basically gonna count everything. The first row that we have is equal to 8C. 8C, or the cell F1, okay? So this is why I type it in the CountIF formula, the F1, okay? Because it stands for the first cell that I'm using, F1. The F1 cell just appears one time in the list, just one time. So equal to 1. 1 is greater than 1. 1 is greater than 1. No, it's equal to 1. So okay, don't need to be highlighted. Now let's go to the second row. In the second row, I have this value right here. How many times this value appeared in the list? Or the cell F2. Okay, the cell F2 appears 2 times in the list. Look, 1 right here and 1 underneath it. 1, 2. Okay, so 2 times. The cell F2 appears 2 times in the list. And as 2 is greater than 1, okay, it's gonna need to be highlighted. And the same thing applies basically for the row number 3, or for the F3 cell, because the F3 cell, we're gonna have actually the same value as before, the same value. And this value right here appears, as we saw, 1, 2 times, and 2 is greater than 1. So it's gonna need to be highlighted. And as you can see here, all those cells are being highlighted. This is how the formula that we did works. Let me click here in done, and then close this panel, and we're done. Whenever now we have repetitive values in the order ID and in the product following the criteria that we create here, all those values are going to be highlighted. So this is how we can create a highlight duplicates here in Google Sheets using 2, 3, 4 or more different criteria. I hope this video can help you out, and if you have any questions or any suggestions to the next videos, let me know. Comment down below, and I see you tomorrow as every day has a new video. I see you there.